Her name was Afoma. Everybody in Benin City knew that name. If you asked 10 people, at least 8 of them would say, "Ah, that fine rich girl, yes, we know her." Afoma was only 15 years old, but she was already known for her beauty. Her skin was smooth and dark like polished wood. Her eyes were bright and full of life. She had long eyelashes, and full lips that curved into a perfect smile. When she walked into a room, heads would turn. People whispered, "See beauty," and smiled. But Afoma wasn't just beautiful. She was smart too. She always came top in her class. She read her books, and answered questions like someone twice her age. She went to one of the best private schools in the city. Her school bag was full of new books, colorful pens, and her iPhone. Everything she needed, she had. Her father, Chief Ogba, was a big businessman. People said he had money in oil, land, and politics. Her mother, Madame Esse, owned 3 fashion shops, and drove a big, black Jeep. Their house had 10 rooms, a swimming pool, and even a small movie room. Security guards stood at the gate. Maids cleaned every corner of the house. To many people, Afoma had the perfect life. Rich, beautiful, smart, and from a respected family, what more could she want? But something was missing. Afoma felt it, even though she didn't understand it. Sometimes she would sit by her window at night, looking at the stars and wondering, "Why do I feel empty? Why do I feel different?" She didn't tell anyone about it. Not her parents, not her classmates, not even her best friend. Everyone thought she was happy. And she smiled, laughed, and acted like everything was fine. But deep down, something strange was beginning to grow inside her. At first, it was just a feeling, like a voice calling her from far away. At night, when the whole house was quiet, she would hear whispers. It was soft at first, like wind. Then it started to sound like someone was calling her name, Afoma. Afoma. She would wake up and look around her room. Maybe it's just my dream, she told herself. But it wasn't. The voice kept coming. The dreams got stronger. She started to see things in her sleep, dark forests, fires, and strange women dancing in circles. Still, she said nothing. After all, who would believe her, a rich girl hearing voices? They would say she was watching too many horror movies. But deep inside her heart, something had already begun. A journey that would take her from light to darkness, and back again. This was the beginning of Afoma's story. Afoma, life looked perfect from the outside. She lived in one of the biggest houses in their estate, a white mansion with golden gates, a flower garden, and expensive cars parked in the compound. Her father, Chief Ogba, was always busy with work, meetings, and business trips. He hardly stayed at home, but whenever he came back, he brought gifts, jewelry, shoes, and even dollars. Her mother, Madame Esse, was a fashion queen, always dressed in the latest lace and gold accessories. She ran 3 boutiques, and was famous for her Ankara designs. Afoma looked up to her mother, but she also felt that her mother didn't have time to listen. It was always, "Afoma, eat your food," or, "Afoma, have you done your homework?" Never, "Afoma, are you okay?" The house was full of people. Drivers, housemaids, cooks, cleaners. But Afoma still felt alone. Everyone was busy doing something. And she just smiled and pretended all was fine. Her room was as big as a small flat. Pink curtains, queen-sized bed, shiny tiles, and a wardrobe full of clothes from London, Dubai, and America. Her iPad sat on her reading table. Her phone never ran out of data. She could chat, watch movies, play games, but she still felt empty. Sometimes she would sit by the window in the evening and watch children from poorer homes playing outside the estate fence. They laughed loudly, barefoot, chasing each other with pure joy. She smiled at them, but also felt sad. She once asked her mother, "Why don't we ever play outside like that?" Her mother replied, "Afoma, you're not like them. You're from a respectable home. Those children are street children." Afoma didn't answer, but inside her, something didn't feel right. School wasn't much different. Her classmates respected her because of her beauty and wealth. Some of them envied her. Others pretended to be her friend because of her money. But very few really knew her heart. Her best friend, Joy, used to be close, but even Joy started acting funny when Afoma stopped talking much. Afoma just didn't feel like sharing anymore. She felt like she was changing, but didn't know how to explain it. Then came the dreams. Every night, Afoma would fall asleep and find herself in strange places. Sometimes, she was in a forest with trees, taller than houses. Other times, she was walking along a river full of blood. Once, she saw a woman with long white hair calling her, "Come, my daughter. Come and know your true self." She would wake up sweating, shaking, and confused. "Why am I seeing these things?" she whispered to herself. She was scared, but also curious. There was a strange peace in those dreams, like she belonged there. One day, after school, she sat in her room and stared into the mirror. She looked at her own eyes for a long time. Then she whispered, "Who am I, really?" That night, the dreams came again, but this time, something was different. She heard footsteps in her dream. Then a voice, calm and deep, said, "Tonight, the journey begins." And just like that, her life began to change forever. The dreams stopped being random. They started coming every night. And each dream took her deeper into a strange, dark world. In one dream, she was walking barefoot in a thick forest. The trees were so tall, they blocked the sky. The ground was wet and cold. Strange animals, with glowing eyes, watched her from the bushes. She was not afraid. In fact, she felt powerful. Like she ruled that forest. In another dream, she found herself standing at the edge of a black river. The water didn't move. It was still and silent, like glass. Then, from inside the river, a woman rose. She had long white hair, black eyes, and skin as pale as chalk. The woman smiled and said, "Afoma. You are special. You have the mark. You are chosen." Afoma wanted to run, but her feet didn't move. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Don't be afraid," the woman said. "You don't belong to their world. You belong to us." Afoma woke up with a loud gasp. Her body was wet with sweat. She checked the time. 2:03 a.m. She sat up and held her knees close to her chest. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. The dreams continued. Every single night, something new happened. Sometimes it was a snake wrapped around her leg, speaking in a human voice. Sometimes, it was a group of women, dancing in a circle, calling her name again and again. Afoma, Afoma, Afoma. One night, she dreamt she was flying. She was high in the air, looking down at Benin City. The streets were dark, but she could see everything. Her school, her house, even the people walking on the road. It felt so real. When she woke up that morning, she was not tired. She felt different. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes seemed darker than before. Her smile looked strange, almost like a secret was hiding behind it. At school that day, her friends noticed. Joy said, "Afoma, are you okay? You've been quiet lately." Afoma just smiled and replied, "I'm fine." But she knew she wasn't the same. Something inside her had changed. Something had awakened. Later that day, during literature class, her teacher was talking, but Afoma wasn't listening. Her eyes were fixed on the teacher's hand as it moved while he spoke. Then suddenly, in her mind, she imagined the chalk in his hand breaking. Just a silly thought. But the next second, the chalk snapped in two. The teacher paused and looked at it. "Strange," he said. "This chalk was brand new." Afoma sat still. Her heart was racing. "Did I do that?" she thought. That night, the dream was different again. This time, the woman with white hair said, "Your power is waking up. You are ready now." "Ready for what?" Afoma asked. But the woman only laughed, a laugh that echoed like 1,000 voices. When Afoma woke up, her bedsheet was stained with blood from her nose. Yet she didn't feel weak. She felt strong. Stronger than ever. After that night, Afoma stopped feeling like a normal girl. She started hearing whispers even when she was awake. At first, it happened when she was alone. But soon, she began to hear voices in crowded places. At school, in the car, even at home. Afoma. Do it, the voice would say. Show them your power. Make them fear you. She tried to ignore it. She told herself, maybe I'm going mad. But deep inside, she liked how it made her feel. Strong, untouchable. One day, something happened that changed everything. It was a hot afternoon at school. Afoma was in the canteen with other students. As usual, people stared at her when she walked in. Some admired her, others whispered behind her back. One boy, Ehis, was always teasing her. He came from a poor background but had loud confidence. That day, as she walked past him with her food tray, he laughed and said, "Fine girl with empty brain. Money no be sense." The whole place went silent. Everyone turned to look. Afoma stood still. Her heart was beating fast. She didn't look at him. She just walked past and sat down. But her mind was boiling. That voice came again. Do you want him to insult you again? Teach him a lesson. Later, while walking home from school with her driver, Afoma said nothing. She just kept staring out the car window. That night, before sleeping, she closed her eyes and whispered, "Let him feel shame." The dream came quickly. She saw Ehis standing alone in the school compound. Suddenly, his trousers tore open. Students pointed and laughed. He tried to run but fell. His face was full of tears. When she woke up, her heart was calm. No fear, no regret. The next day, something strange happened. During morning assembly, Ehis was called out by the principal. "We need to speak to your parents," he said. "You were caught stealing a teacher's phone." The students shouted in surprise. Ehis cried and begged, "I didn't do it. I swear." But nobody believed him. The phone was found in his locker. Afoma stood among the students, silent. She looked straight at him and smiled slightly. Just one small smile. The voice whispered again, "You see, you are powerful." From that day, people started treating Afoma differently. Her classmates began to fear her. Even Joy, her best friend, started acting distant. "Afoma, something about you is not normal," she said one day. Afoma replied, "What do you mean?" Joy shook her head. "You're not the same anymore. You're dark." Afoma laughed softly. "Maybe I'm just growing up." But she knew the truth. This was not just growing up. This was power. And it had only just begun. After the incident with Ehis, Afoma began to understand her power more. It wasn't just dreams anymore. It was real. It was inside her. Every time she wished for something bad to happen to someone, it happened. She didn't need to shout. She didn't need to touch. She just had to think it, and it would come to pass. One evening, as she was sitting alone in her room, the pale woman from her dreams appeared. This time, not in a dream, but in her mirror. "Afoma," the woman said, her voice like wind and fire, "you are ready to join us." "Us?" Afoma asked, staring into the mirror, afraid but also curious. The woman nodded. "You are a daughter of the night. A chosen one. Your blood is strong. You belong to the kingdom of darkness." Afoma didn't move. She just listened. "You have the gift of sight, of command, and of destruction," the woman continued. "But to grow stronger, you must accept us." Afoma whispered, "What do I have to do?" The woman smiled. "Just say yes." That night, Afoma knelt in the middle of her room, the lights off, only her phone's flashlight on the floor. She whispered the words the woman gave her in the dream. "I open my spirit to the night. I accept my path. Let my enemies be ashes. Let my heart know no fear." The air in her room changed. Her curtains moved though the windows were closed. Her mirror cracked slightly at the edges. Her eyes became darker, her voice deeper for a second. Then, silence. The deal was sealed. From that moment on, her powers grew fast. She could hear people's thoughts. She could move small things with her mind. Once, she wished for the school's generator to stop, and it did. During an exam, students shouted, Teachers were confused. But Afoma just sat and watched. She was no longer just a student. She was something else. The voice in her head spoke more often now. It said things like, "She doesn't like you. Punish her. He's laughing at you. Teach him a lesson. Take what you want. You have the right." And slowly, Afoma started doing what the voice said. She poured invisible pepper into the eyes of a teacher who shouted at her. She caused another girl to faint just by staring at her too long. She made her mother's favorite plant die overnight, just because she was annoyed. Nobody could explain these things. But Afoma knew. And she loved it. She now had dreams where she danced in circles with other women dressed in red and black. They chanted her name. They gave her powers. They told her she was one of them. They called her daughter of the moon. As Afoma powers grew stronger, things inside her house started to fall apart. At first, it was small things. Plates breaking on their own, lights flickering, the dog barking at nothing in the corner. But soon, bigger problems started. Her mother, Madame Essay, became sick. She started having terrible headaches that wouldn't stop. Doctors checked her, but they found nothing wrong. "It's probably stress," they said. But it wasn't stress. It was Afoma. One day, Madame Essay shouted at Afoma for coming home late from school. "Do you think this is a nightclub? Are you mad?" Afoma didn't talk back. She just stared at her mother with cold eyes. That night, Madame Essay couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned on her bed, feeling something sitting on her chest. She tried to scream but couldn't. It was as if someone was holding her mouth shut. She woke up in the morning sweating and shaking. "I saw something in my dream," she said to her husband. It looked like Afoma, but with red eyes. Chief Ogba waved it off. "You worry too much. It's just a bad dream." But it wasn't. Even the housemaids began to notice things. Some said they heard footsteps at night when nobody was walking. Others said they saw shadows in Afoma room even when the lights were off. One maid, Amaka, tried to leave. "I no fit stay for this house again," she said. "Something they worry that girl." But Afoma heard her say that. The next morning, Amaka couldn't find her voice. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Doctors said it was spiritual. Afoma didn't say anything. She just smiled and sipped her juice at the breakfast table. Her father, Chief Ogba, still didn't believe anything was wrong. "All this nonsense is from Nollywood movies," he said. But even he started to feel it. One night, while working in his home office, his laptop screen suddenly went black. Then it turned on by itself and showed only one word. Afoma. He shut the laptop quickly. His hands were shaking. That evening, he called his wife. "Essay, I think we need to pray." Madame Essay nodded. "We have to. Something is wrong with our daughter." But it was too late. Afoma was already deep inside the darkness. She had accepted it, and she wasn't ready to let it go. She watched them as they worried, prayed, and cried. In her heart, she said, "You people never cared when I needed love. Now you're afraid of me." Good. People in the neighborhood started talking. Strange stories about Afoma family spread like wildfire. "Did you hear what happened to their housemaid?" One woman asked at the market. "Yes. They said the girl went mad after working there," another replied. "And that Madame Essay is always falling sick now. Spiritual sickness." The rumors reached school too. Even teachers started keeping their distance from Afoma. Some avoided eye contact. Others spoke softly when she was around. Joy, her former best friend, became scared of her. One day after class, Joy pulled her aside and whispered, "Afoma, please. I don't know what's happening to you, but this thing you're doing, it's not good." Afoma smiled. "What thing? You know what I'm talking about," Joy said, her voice shaking. "The dreams. The strange things happening to people. We all know it's you." Afoma didn't deny it. She leaned closer and whispered into Joy's ear, "Be careful how you talk to me." Joy's eyes widened. She stepped back and ran out of the room. That evening, Joy told her mother everything. Her mother screamed and ran to the pastor. "My daughter's friend is a witch," she cried. Please, man of God, help us. The pastor, a bold man of prayer, called a vigil immediately. Let us pray for Afoma. Let us break whatever evil is covering her eyes. People came to the church and prayed all night. They called Afoma's name again and again. They prayed for fire to destroy her powers. But Afoma knew. She felt it. She was in bed, eyes closed, but she saw them in her spirit. She saw them dancing and shouting. She laughed quietly. They can't stop me, she whispered. I am too strong now. The next morning, news spread that the church caught fire. Nobody knew how it started. The windows exploded, and part of the roof collapsed. Nobody died, but the whole community shook with fear. Some said it was an accident. But others knew the truth. Afoma had fought back. Now, even her parents were afraid of her. Chief Ogba and Madame Esse sat in their living room, silent. I think our daughter is possessed, Madame Esse said with tears in her eyes. Chief Ogba finally nodded. We must find help. Maybe. Maybe a strong prophet. But Afoma already knew what they were planning. She stood outside the door, listening. A small smile crossed her lips. Let them try, she whispered. Let them see what happens. Chief Ogba was a proud man. He didn't believe in all this spiritual talk before. But now, fear had humbled him. He called an old friend, who knew a powerful prophet from Delta State. This man, the friend said, does not play. He sees beyond the flesh. If your daughter is truly under dark power, he will expose it. 3 days later, Prophet Elijah arrived. He was a quiet, tall man with piercing eyes. He didn't shout. He didn't dance around. He just entered the house and stood still for a few minutes. Everyone held their breath. Then he spoke. There is darkness in this house, he said. A strong one. A child of the night is here. She walks with spirits. Afoma sat on the stairs, watching him. Her eyes were cold. She didn't greet him. Prophet Elijah turned and looked straight at her. He said. Afoma didn't flinch. Yes, me. The room became tense. You know what you carry, the prophet said. Yes, Afoma replied. And I'm not afraid. He walked closer to her. But it will destroy you, Afoma. You were not born for this. The devil only gives power that leads to shame. Afoma stood up slowly. I didn't beg for this power. It came to me, and I accepted it, because the world was wicked to me first. You can still turn back, he said gently. You can still be free. But Afoma laughed. I don't need to be free. I like who I am. The prophet sighed. Then prepare, because I will not watch you drag this family to destruction. I will fight you with prayer. That night, Prophet Elijah began a 3-day prayer fast inside their house. He locked himself in a guest room. No food, no water, just Bible, oil, and candle. On the second night, the battle Afoma couldn't sleep. Her body shook on the bed. The voices in her head screamed louder than ever before. Stop him. They shouted. Send fire to his room. He wants to destroy you. Afoma stood up. Her eyes were no longer human. Her shadow moved on its own. She walked to the prophet's door and placed her hand on it. The candle in his room flickered violently. But Prophet Elijah didn't stop praying. His voice grew louder, and the air grew hotter. Suddenly, Afoma was pushed backward by an invisible force. She hit the wall and screamed. Madame Esse and Chief Ogba rushed out. They saw her lying on the floor, shaking. Leave her. Prophet Elijah shouted. From inside. The light is working. Her darkness is breaking. Afoma rolled on the floor, crying and laughing at the same time. I won't let go. She screamed. I won't leave the kingdom. But something deep inside her was already shaking. A small part of her heart, a quiet place she had buried long ago, began to wake up. As Prophet Elijah continued praying in his locked room, a heavy wind blew through the house, even though all the windows were closed. The family clock stopped ticking. The light bulbs flickered, then burst one by one. Afoma screamed, from her room. She wasn't alone. Dark shadows danced around her walls. Her mirror showed terrible faces. Some laughing, some crying, all of them angry. You betrayed us. They shouted. You let a man of light enter. Destroy him now, or we will destroy you. Afoma fell to her knees. Her hands shook. Her eyes rolled back, and her voice changed. I am not weak. She screamed. I will fight. I will burn that prophet to ashes. At the same time, Prophet Elijah stood in his room, holding his Bible in one hand, and anointing oil in the other. He prayed louder, his voice shaking the walls. In the name of Jesus. Every spirit hiding in this girl, I command you to come out. Suddenly, the door to his room burst open. Not by hand, but by a force. Afoma stood at the entrance. Her feet were bare. Her hair stood like wildfire. Her eyes glowed red. She floated a little above the floor. You dare challenge me? She said in a voice that wasn't hers. I was born before your Bible. But Prophet Elijah was not moved. You are not Afoma, you are a demon using her body. And I cast you out now. He threw oil at her. The moment the oil touched her forehead, Afoma let out a loud scream that shook the house. Madam Esse and Chief Ogba, watching from the corner of the hallway, held each other tightly in fear. Smoke poured from Afoma's mouth. Her body twisted and shook violently. She fell to the floor and began crawling like a snake, hissing. I will not go. The demon shouted. She belongs to us. But the prophet continued. You have no right over her. Her soul is not for sale. She was made for light, not darkness. Then, Afoma screamed again. This time, louder and longer. Her body went still. The wind stopped. The shadows disappeared. She lay on the floor, breathing hard, her eyes now normal. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Mummy. She whispered. Daddy. Madam Esse rushed forward and knelt beside her. My baby. My daughter. Chief Ogba came too, holding both of them. You are free now, Afoma. It's over. Thank God. But Prophet Elijah raised one finger. No, he said calmly. This is just the beginning. The spirit is gone, but now, the healing must begin. Looked up at them, her voice weak. I'm sorry. For everything. Her mother cried and hugged her tighter. And in that moment, the house felt peace, for the first time in months. After the battle, in the spirit, everything changed. Afoma woke up the next morning, feeling lighter. The heavy weight that had been on her shoulders for so long was gone. She could think clearly again, and her heart felt like it was finally free. Her parents, though still shaken, were full of love and concern for her. They spent the day with her, comforting her, helping her heal. Madam Esse made her favorite soup, and Chief Ogba promised that they would work together as a family to make things right. We'll go through this together, Afoma. Madam Esse said softly, as she combed through her daughter's hair. We'll be here for you. But Afoma, though grateful, knew the road ahead would be tough. Her actions had hurt so many people, and even though she had been freed from the dark spirits, the consequences of her choices could not be erased just like that. The next day, Afoma returned to school. The whispers had stopped, but the stares were still there. Her classmates no longer saw her as just the quiet girl from a rich family. They saw something else, something more dangerous. As Afoma walked into class, joy came over to her, her eyes filled with uncertainty. Afoma, she said softly. Are you okay? Afoma smiled, a small, genuine smile. Yes, Joy, I'm okay now. Thank you for being there. Joy didn't know what to say. She had heard the rumors. She had seen the strange things that had happened. But seeing Afoma now, she could tell that something had changed. The girl she had known before was gone, replaced by someone who was ready to make things right. I'm sorry, Afoma, Joy whispered. I should have been there for you sooner. Afoma shook her head. It wasn't your fault. I was lost. But I'm not anymore. In the following weeks, Afoma made a conscious effort to show the world, that she had changed. She stopped using her powers, even when it seemed like she could. She made amends with people she had hurt, offering apologies for the things she had done under the influence of the dark spirits. It was hard, but she did it because she wanted peace. Prophet Elijah kept in touch with her, checking on her progress. Healing is a long journey, Afoma, he told her. But as long as you stay strong and keep your heart pure, you will continue to walk in the light. One evening, while Afoma was alone in her room, she opened a drawer where she had once hidden dark charms and talismans. She stared at them for a long time before slowly throwing them into the trash, making a vow to never look back. Her parents noticed the change, too. Chief Ogba was proud of his daughter for having the strength to fight the darkness within her. He even began to talk more openly about his faith, encouraging the family to pray together every evening. A few months later, the community saw the change in Afoma. People who once feared her now saw her as a strong young woman who had overcome her struggles. She became someone who could be trusted. Afoma continued her education and worked hard to make something of herself. She joined a local charity, helping to feed and clothe those in need. She began to speak to other young people who were lost in the darkness, sharing her story and helping them find their way out. At night, when the stars shone brightly in the sky, Afoma would sometimes think about the past. She would remember the pain, the fear, and the darkness that had once consumed her. But she would also remember the light that had saved her. And with that thought, she would close her eyes and sleep peacefully, knowing that she had finally found her true path. Life began to feel more normal for Afoma. After the battle with the dark forces, she felt like a different person, one who could breathe freely again. Each day was a step forward, as she let go of the past and worked to rebuild her life. Her parents supported her every way they could. They enrolled her in therapy sessions to help her talk through the trauma she had endured. Her mother, once distant and strict, began to show her more affection and warmth. Her father, Chief Ogba, took her out to lunch, just the two of them, to spend more time together. But it wasn't just her parents who noticed the change. The people around her, her classmates, the neighbor, began to see a new Afoma. One afternoon, while walking home from school, Afoma ran into one of her old friends, Kemi. Kemi had always been a quiet girl, keeping to herself, and though they'd once been close, their paths had drifted apart. Afoma, Kemi asked hesitantly, as if unsure whether to approach. Afoma smiled and waved. Kem. It's been a while. How are you? Kemi looked at her with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. I heard about everything that happened. The rumors, the things that people said about you. Afoma nodded. Yeah, I know. It's been hard. But I'm not that person anymore. I'm really trying to make things right. Kemi was quiet for a moment, her eyes searching Afoma's face. Then, she smiled, a small, but genuine smile. I can see that. I believe you, Afoma. It was the first time, in a long while, that Afoma had felt so accepted, so understood. For the first time since everything had started, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she could be forgiven, not just by God and her family, but by others as well. Months passed, and Afoma's life seemed to return to some sense of normalcy. She had worked hard to rebuild the trust she had lost, and slowly, people began to accept the new Afoma, her schoolwork improved, and she became involved in community service, visiting orphanages and helping with local charity events. However, despite her progress, one thing still lingered: her faith. Every time she went to church, she felt a sense of unease. The memories of her past sins, the evil she had done, haunted her during every prayer. She would kneel with the congregation, but her mind would wander to the things she had done under the influence of the dark spirits. Could God truly forgive her? One Sunday, after church, Prophet Elijah invited Afoma to his office for a private conversation. Afoma, he began, I'll see the changes in you. You've come a long way. But I also see a battle still, raging within you. Afoma lowered her head, her voice trembling. I want to believe that I am forgiven. I want to trust in God's love, but sometimes, I wonder if He can really forgive someone like me. The prophet smiled gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. Forgiveness is not something you have to earn, Afoma, it's a gift. A gift of grace. What you must do is accept that gift with your heart, and walk in it. You are a new creation in Christ. Your past is gone, and your future is bright. Afoma sat quietly, the weight of his words sinking in. She had struggled to forgive herself, but she realized that she needed to let go of the shame that had been holding her back. God's love was greater than her past. That night, Afoma prayed like she had never prayed before. She asked God to forgive her for the darkness she had once embraced, and for the pain she had caused. She surrendered her heart completely, trusting in His mercy. As she finished her prayer, she felt a peace she had never experienced before, a peace that washed over her like a river, filling her with warmth and healing. The next day, Afoma woke up with a sense of clarity. For the first time in a long while, she knew that she was free, not just from the spirits that had tormented her, but from the guilt that had bound her heart. She was truly free. As Afoma continued her journey toward healing, life didn't stop for her. Things were getting better, but new challenges began to arise. There were still people in the community who whispered behind her back. Some would smile to her face, but talk about her when she wasn't around. They could never forget the girl who had once walked in darkness. At school, it was the same. Some of her classmates had forgiven her, but others still treated her as an outsider, as someone to be feared. Afoma was often faced with cruel words, with snickers and teasing. There were even times when she would walk home alone, feeling the weight of their judgment. One day, during a school assembly, the principal called Afoma up to the stage. She hesitated, unsure of what would happen. Her heart raced as she made her way to the front. She had expected to be mocked again, but what happened next was different. Afoma, the principal began, her voice steady, I want to publicly acknowledge your transformation. I know you've faced challenges in the past, but you've proven yourself. Your hard work, your service to the community, and your dedication to changing your life are things we should all learn from. The room fell silent. For a moment, Afoma thought she had misheard. But the principal continued, from now on, you are an example to us all. We all make mistakes, but it's how we rise after those mistakes that truly matters. The applause that followed was overwhelming. Afoma blinked in surprise as she heard her classmates clapping for her. It wasn't much, but it was the beginning of a change. The respect she had worked so hard to earn was finally starting to show. Later that day, Joy approached her in the hallway. Afoma, I'm really proud of you, she said. You've come so far. Afoma smiled, softly, her eyes shining with emotion. Thank you, Joy. It's been hard, but I'm glad I didn't give up. Joy nodded. You didn't just change the way people see you, you've changed the way we all see forgiveness. I hope I can be as brave as you one day. For the first time in a long while, Afoma felt like she truly belonged. Her journey wasn't over, but she was no longer the girl defined by her past mistakes. She was Afoma, strong, forgiven, and ready to continue her life, no matter the obstacles ahead. Please wait for the part 2. And find out what happened to the end. And that brings us to the end.